Hello and welcome. Tonight, 2 inmates serving jail terms for culpable homicide escaped from Kuje prison in the Federal Capital Territory. Researchers from the University of Lagos blame human activities for the drying up of a portion of Ogun River. National Association of Resident Doctors calls off its 3-week-old strike, wants government to implement agreements reached with it before July the 14th. And European leaders are divided on the time frame for Britain to negotiate its exit from the bloc.
And on Business News tonight, FMGQ OTC Securities Exchange braces up for the Naira settled over-the-counter FX futures market.
On sports news, Kano Pillars beat Nigeria Customs to reclaim the Nigerian Basketball League title after losing it to Mark Mentors last year.
I'm Sulaiman Aled. We begin tonight with the news of the prison break. 2 inmates of Kuje prison who are serving jail terms for culpable homicide are currently on the run, and that's according to officials of the Nigerian Prison Service. The spokesman of the service, Enobore Francis, said the inmates escaped during a jail break, which happened at about 7:30 p.m. on Friday, June the 24th. He, however, debunked reports that one of the prime inmates in the prison, Mr. Charles Oka, has escaped. According to him, Mr. Oka is still in his cell, although journalists were not allowed to go in with the Controller General of Prisons, who carried out an assessment of the prison. The prison spokesman says the service has already launched an investigation into the incident.
Yes, actually, yesterday we had an incident where 2 inmates awaiting trial escaped from custody. Charles Oka is still in safe custody in Kuje Medium Security Prison. There's no truth about that news that is making the rounds that Charles Oka escaped from lawful custody. It is not true. At least the Controller General himself came when the news was trending. The field officer, an assistant Controller General in charge of operations, directed a PI. I spoke with the officer in charge. Beside that, I just wanted to ensure that the information I got from the officer in charge of the prison, the Federal Capital Territory Controller, and any other person I spoke to was correct. I had to drive down myself. And I can tell you authoritatively that Charles Oka is still in safe custody, and there is no truth about the news making the round that he has escaped. However, the Controller General has directed, before he left, after carrying out his own inspection of the yard, he has directed that the detailed account of what transpired should be forwarded to his office soonest. And he has promised that any staff found wanting will not be spared. Such staff will be made to face the full wrath of the law.
A team of researchers from the University of Lagos, led by the school's Deputy Vice-Chancellor, Professor Oluwatoyin Ogundipe, have visited the Ogun River by Kara. The field work, he says, is to assess the phenomenon that led to the accumulation of water hyacinth around the base of the Berger Bridge. Professor Ogundipe blamed this development on human activities and called for a close watch of what happens in that area.
Because of human activity going on there, which is on the increase, you have the animals and other things that they get from they are working on being dumped into the river. And also, you have construction work going on here, where the people will throw part of the bamboo into the river. And because of that, you have that blocking the pathway through which the river is supposed to flow past the foot of the bridge. With that, we have the accumulation of water hyacinth. With the accumulation of water hyacinth forming, they now form a mat on the river. With that, you have the water coming from the other end, from the other side of the river, the upper side of the river. The speed when it gets to that place, it reduces. And with that, the sand that is coming, the undercurrent, will now reduce the speed of the sand that is supposed to pass through that place. And the sand started accumulating. With that, you have the accumulation of the sand. And you know, water is an annual plant. After some time, it will die off. Now the water hyacinth is accumulated there, forming the mat and the base of it.
The rate at which refuse is being dumped in the ocean has become a source of concern for environmental experts around the world, as the United Nations Environment Programme Unilag cautions in its latest report of the devastating economic and health effects of this practice. Here in Lagos, the lagoon has become a refuse dump for many, with plastic waste floating kilometers across the water and littering the shores of the otherwise beautiful beaches. Experts say it is just a matter of time before this practice causes a major health hazard if not addressed. Our correspondent Adeshawa Josh has more.
This is a cross-section of the Lagos Lagoon, which has become a refuse dump, as tons of waste stretching kilometers litter both sides of the lagoon. We have been traveling for the past 30 minutes on this lagoon, and it is quite alarming, the enormity of waste that we have seen. Tons of plastic waste, human waste, and even corpses. It is quite interesting also to note that both sides of the lagoon is bounded by mostly commercial buildings, residential buildings, restaurants. And the question is, who is actually dumping these wastes?
People who live around the lagoon, they're dumping things there, they're cleaning there on a regular basis, and the lagoon has become their rubbish dump. What I feel is happening is like what's happening on land is now affecting what's happening in the sea, because the land is the bins there are already filled up, they're not being picked up, and I'll tell you two reasons. One, because a lot of people don't want to pay for their waste to be disposed properly. So if they're not paying for it, the agencies responsible are not going to pick it up because they can't do it for free.
No one is accepting culpability. And at the time of this report, we didn't see much, but we saw these. A man defecating from the Eko Bridge, and a woman who, after sighting the camera, held back from dumping her refuse, but did as soon as she thought we were gone. And of course, the cart pushers who are back in business, notorious for collecting refuse from households who do not want to pay for refuse collection. Tons of waste like these are dumped into the seas around the world, causing an estimated financial damage of $13 billion annually to marine ecosystems, according to a report by the United Nations Environment Programme. This is one of the beautiful beaches located in the Ilashe area of Lagos. Many Lagosians come here to relax on weekends. An alluring sight indeed, till you behold the thousands of plastic wastes washed ashore by the ocean. Experts say one refuse truck's worth of plastic is dumped into the sea every minute. And by the year 2050, there will be more plastic than fish in the sea, should the governments and relevant monitoring agencies allow refuse dumping in the sea to continue unchecked. Adeshawa Josh, Channels Television News.
If you ask the people, they surely will want to see more fish than plastic. Now, the Chairman Presidential Advisory Committee on Anti-Corruption, Professor Ise Sage, has blamed the judicial system and legal practitioners for delay in a number of corruption cases in the country. Professor Sage says his committee is advocating special courts for the prosecution of financial crimes and kidnapping and other cases. This suggestion was made at the 2016 lecture of the National Association of Judiciary Correspondents in Lagos State. Well, joining us to look at this issue is a legal practitioner, Mr. Chijioke Emeka. Thank you for joining us on the News at 10. This is not the first time we've had a call for special courts to fight, to take care of corruption and other cases like kidnapping. Would you say the Prof is on course?
Yes, I have that's an aspect of what Prof has said that I stand with. There's also an aspect of it that I don't stand with. Let me start with the call for special courts. First of all, we must all accept that corruption is a singular, a serious problem in Nigeria, and especially now that we have issues with our economy, with the fall in global oil price. We must accept that corruption should be fought as a serious issue. But calling for special courts will be like solving a problem with another problem. You don't solve, if somebody has cholera, you don't deal with cholera by creating dysentery. That is the way I look at special courts. So I feel that a call for special courts will be like, you want to solve this problem, you create another one. We have issues, in the past, we have, when the military was in power, they had this view that because they were correctional regimes, special problems should be given special attention. So you had robbery, special court for robbery, special court on, they were called tribunals.
So in other words, if the problem is not the courts, that means,
no.
Are you looking at the practitioners?
No, the problem is not the courts, because I've had cases as a practitioner. I've had cases the other day in the Court of Appeal in Port Harcourt, in Calabar Division. I had a case of rape, which was on an appeal. Within less than 2 months of the appeal coming to the Court of Appeal, they fixed a date for hearing. So most of the times we find out that it's the practitioners who, maybe especially the defense counsel, sometimes the prosecution too, but more probably on the side of the defense counsel, who will want to come to court and file different red herring applications to stop the course of prosecution. For example, you file a motion to challenge the color of the suit of the judge. And before the judge, okay, fair hearing says the judge have to hear your application, no matter how weak, how laughable. Now, but how do we say that before the special courts, the same things will not happen? So that's why I say you don't throw away the baby with the bathwater. The judiciary, the mainstream courts, they have been doing well. There was, for example, when we talk about special court, there was a judge in Lagos Division, Lagos State Judiciary Judge Zoyole, who is now in the Court of Appeal. That court was seen as a special criminal court. All the major, I don't want to call names, but all the major...
In other words, sorry to cut you there. In other words, if we're looking at ways forward now that we know that some of the issues rest on the practitioners, how best can you profile a solution for speedy dispensation of cases?
Yes, I on the part of the courts, let me start with the court, the institution, judiciary institution itself. What we should talk about, which is already on, because I know that the various levels of court, the Federal High Court, I'm sure, the Court of Appeal, I'm sure, and the Supreme Court, we have 2013 practice directions that were issued. These practice directions were like a case management framework to make sure that cases, especially when it comes to some serious offenses or that are prevalent, like rape cases, corruption cases, cases prosecuted by special statutory bodies like EFCC and the rest of them, and cases involving terrorism, we're giving speedy hearing. And these practice directions are working. I've used that practice direction in some divisions and I saw that they work. I experienced it. Now, on the part of the judiciary management, so case management, evolving new case management framework to deal with corruption cases, that's one. Then on the part of the practitioners, NBA, I call on the Nigerian Bar Association to stem up the disparity control. A judge, there's a common saying at common law that the integrity and honesty of a judge cannot be questioned. What you should challenge is finding, either of error of law or fact. So if a judge, the other day, a friend of mine, a judge that is my very good friend, they threw away my case, dismissed it for, he said it was statute bad. I didn't say something has happened, challenge his integrity. What I did was to appeal. So lawyers should refrain from going to scandalize courts. It's not an effective defense to blackmail a judge and thereby stop the prosecution from doing their work. So the proper thing, and it will be on the side of NBA, Nigerian Bar Association should step up their game in protecting judges, especially judges who try these high-profile corruption cases, to make sure that lawyers go there to get the cases done, not to scandalize the judge. And sometimes some judges hands off. So when they come and say, oh, you are corrupt, judges shouldn't hands off cases because a person who doesn't want his case to be tried, a corruption case, just comes to God and say, my lord, you are corrupt. So the judge hands off. Then who will do it? So they keep on going from one judge to the other, scandalizing him from being corrupt, and nothing happens at the end of the day.
Well, Mr. Chijioke Emeka, thank you so much for being with us on the News at 10. In part 2 after the break, Nigeria will soon complete the process of capturing the number of Nigerians living in the diaspora. Stay with us.